Hi everyone and welcome to Writing for the Web. 544 if you're a grad student, 444 if you're an undergraduate. My name is Steve Krause and I'm the one teaching this class. Uh, I want to keep this video to introduce things really as short as I possibly can because really you should read the stuff. I wrote all these things and stuff like that. So the syllabus is, I'm not going to read it at you. You should actually do that yourself. And if you've got questions about it or concerns or comments or whatever, by all means, that's what the discussion below this is supposed to be about. So you should do that. Let me tell you a little bit about where I'm coming from with this class, though. I've been here since 1998, and I actually created this class way back when it first started, I think around 2000 or so. I've been teaching online for part of my load for about 15 years or so, so I'm very comfortable with the format. And I've taught this class before online as well, long before COVID and all that kind of stuff. The one challenge that's kind of interesting for me about this class this semester is the last time I taught this class was 2018, and even then, I thought that what I was doing was probably a little bit dated. So I've had to really update a lot of different stuff for the class. I mean, after all, when I first created it, it was called Writing for the World Wide Web, as if that was a whole different sort of thing. And nowadays it's like, well, what writing isn't for the web, right? I mean, everything that anybody would do professionally or just on their own, well, not everything, but a lot of things that we do ends up being on the web. And certainly, if your goal is to be some kind of version of a professional or technical writer, most of what you would produce in that job is going to actually be published on the web. So that's kind of a little bit of a bugaboo in the sense that all writing is for the web. But what we're focusing on here is stuff that you do that only appears on the web. It's not something that is meant to be read as a printout, and it's also something meant to be more used than read. We'll talk more about that. But anyways, read the syllabus and everything like that. And again, bear with me in the sense that a lot of this is both very old to me, but also kind of new to me. Just a couple logistic things I want to highlight though. Because it's an online class, there's a couple things you need to be aware of. It's an online asynchronous class, meaning that we're never going to actually have a particular time, which means you need to be responsible for your schedule. And that can sometimes be tricky if you're not used to that. Like if the only online classes you took before were Zoom synchronous classes, this is going to be a little bit different. The other thing that I keep telling people is that you have got to check your email every single day. And what I mean is that, and I mean just check it. That's all I'm asking to do because what I have found is a lot of times students don't do that. And that can be a real problem because the only way I have to communicate with you directly is through email. I'm not going to call you, I'm not going to text you, I'm not going to come to your house. I'm going to send you an email. So if you're missing an assignment or if you're late on something or if there's some kind of announcement or something like that, the way I'm going to get that to you is via email. And if you don't read the email and you don't follow through on that, then that's a problem. The other thing I'm going to mention too, and I talk about in the syllabus a little bit more, is the technology component of this class is a little bit different in the sense that because it's an online class, of course you need to be responsible for your computer and internet access and things like that. But I also want to point out we are going to do some fairly technical things this semester. The first assignment involves working through some tutorials for HTML and CSS and setting up a WordPress site and all that kind of stuff. So it's one of those things where if you're not really used to doing that, that's okay. You don't have to have any previous experience, but I just want to let you know that up front that you might have to, take a little bit of extra time and maybe seek a little bit of help from some of your classmates who are better at this stuff, seek some help from me. But I just want to let you know up front that, it's not like a typical English class where you read stuff and write papers and that's about it. I'll also mention there's one book for the class. It looks like this. As I say in the syllabus, you can get the print version or you can get the electronic version. I like the print version for things like this because it's easier to take notes and things. This is an interesting book to me because it's about writing, but from the perspective of a marketing person. So Anne Hanley is a PR, marketing, social media writer, not like a technical writer and not a academic writer by any stretch of the imagination. So I think that some of the ways in which some of the advice that she gives will be really interesting to sort of encounter through our way of looking at these things. Also known as syllabus, as you can see, graduate students have an additional project. So undergraduates and graduate students all do 3 major projects. The graduate students do an additional one. Now, like I said, read through all that stuff, but let me give you a really quick tour of the Canvas site, because the way that I tend to set up my Canvas sites might be a little bit different from some of the other classes that you've taken before. So at least the online classes. So take a look at this. Okay, so if you've logged in, you can see that this is what the class website looks like more or less. You'll notice that I don't have very much over here. I just have the syllabus and the grades and these other sort of links like this. And I would encourage you to very much ignore this. Just don't pay any attention to this to-do list. The only thing you really need to pay attention to is right here, okay? All the schedule for stuff that you need to do is all on this page, and that's where it will be for the whole semester. So you've already found this, the first day of class. The next thing you're going to want to do is click on this Introduce Yourselves link, and you're going to want to introduce yourself, all the instructions and things like that. When you start writing a prompt here, and you'll write the response, blah, 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 and then post it and try to like copy and paste a picture in there and that kind of thing, you're not going to see what other people wrote until you write something. Then once you write something, you come back to this, you'll see what other people said. Then what you're going to want to do in order to get an A on this discussion is you're going to want to begin this on August 30th, and you're going to want to respond to at least 2 other people between 12 hours apart before by Wednesday, September 1st. Okay, the thing that cycle repeats itself again starting here. So read and review the required discussions, read and review the major writing assignments for the term, and I have those all described right here in some detail. I like to describe those at the very beginning of the term, in part because we're kind of doing like a couple of these things all at the same time as the semester goes along. And then again here too, reading this discussion at the start of HTML and CSS. This involves a couple of short readings and write your response there. Okay, that's how the discussions will go, and the discussions are a major part of the class because it's where we'll talk about not only readings that are relevant for you making your websites and such, but also just in the sort of topic of writing for the web and issues of social media and things like that in a larger, broader sense. But you know, it counts as a third of the grade, so it's worth doing it well. Some of this class is not as planned out yet as I was preferred to be for a couple of different reasons. One reason is because I just ran out of time during the summer. You know, these things happen. But the other thing is because I wasn't quite sure how long some of these activities are going to take. So, for example, the first project is learning how to do HTML and CSS code through Codecademy and setting up a WordPress site. And I want to stay kind of open-minded in terms of like how long it's going to take. I have a schedule here, and my goal is for everyone to be done with the Codecademy WordPress stuff by September 27th. And you'll see that we're going to be doing some readings and other sorts of activities along the way. But I don't really know yet if that date is too optimistic or not. So I want to sort of play a little bit by ear. And also because, like I said, I'm behind in terms. But a lot of this other stuff is going to get filled in fairly quickly. So, for example, I just have style, design, SEO, usability. That just really refers to some of the sort of major topics of the term. By this, I mean writing style for the web, design issues in terms of graphics, and where you probably take another class where we talk about contrast and repetition, alignment, proximity, and stuff like that. Site engine optimization, with big deal in terms of how to write for the web. Usability, you've probably come up in other classes as well, etc. So these are all going to be the various topics that go through the course of the term. The first project, the Codecademy, is due September 27th, and then there's going to be several other little mini due dates here, but really the 2 other big projects aren't going to be due until the end of the semester. Graduate students are going to do presentations, and that's probably going to start somewhere around here, mid-November or so, and hopefully wrap those up before Thanksgiving or shortly after Thanksgiving. There's no final in the class or anything like that, but December 15th is the end when everything has to be turned in, late work or revisions or anything like that. Okay, so hopefully that's enough to get you started. Like I said, there's a lot more details here. Of course, you should read the syllabus and read through the assignments. Ask questions about the course because I'm going to hold you responsible for the syllabus. So, it's if you have questions, by God, ask them. And certainly other people will have similar questions, so don't be shy about that. Um, let's keep our fingers crossed about COVID. Hope it gets better. I think it probably will. We'll be online, so that will help us at least a little bit through the course of the semester. But of course, we all want COVID to kind of go away. Okay, let's get started. I'll see you online.